Welcome to the Workwell Podcast. I'm Dulcie, and I'm here with my best friend of over 20 years, Yemisi.
20 years? Wow. And in that time, we've seen it all professionally. From big wins to epic fails, we've learned so much along the way about life, work, and everything in between.
We don't believe in gatekeeping, so we want to share these lessons with you. We've created this space to explore the challenges we all face, whether it's finding balance, building confidence, or even stepping into leadership.
You'll get stories, advice, and practical tools to help you feel inspired, informed, and excited to tackle whatever comes next.
So, take a deep breath, settle in, and let's dive into today's conversation. How are you?
Hey, Dulcie. I am good. I am blessed and highly favored. Let me go that route.
Amen to that. Yeah, this is the thing, right? It's all about, let me say what I want to be.
Exactly. Yeah. I am extremely blessed, highly favored, highly prosperous. I am rich.
I am beautiful, rich.
I am stinking rich. No cellulite, no stretch marks whatsoever. I am wonderful. I am perfect in every way.
I'm that girl.
Yes.
No, yeah.
It's like an African parent thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like where they say enemy is sick. My enemy isn't strong.
Yeah. But my enemy has clinical depression.
Yes. I'm entering my Gen Z and African auntie era at the same time.
Who knew that that there's such an overlap? Listen, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about work-life balance. What is that? What is that?
Sounds like walking on a tightrope.
It sure is. It's also bullshit. Let me just be really honest. I mean, you know, not to sort of give it all away, but my view is there's no such thing. Not in the way that we've traditionally thought about it. And actually, what I think what we'll benefit from is work-life integration. So, to start off, I think I'm coming in quite strong talking about how work-life balance is trash. And I don't want to get caught up in words, right? Because even work-life integration, you can think of it of work-life balance, but it's more about what is your understanding of it, more so than what the specific words are, right?
Agreed.
So thinking back on work-life balance, now I don't know anything about the 80s. I'm far too young to know anything about that. You were not supposed to just laugh like that, by the way. Okay. Well, I'm just going to go past that shade. But what I've heard... What I've heard is that in the 80s, it kind of became popular, this whole work-life balance. You know, that whole like working 9 to 5, you know, it's like you clock in at 9, you clock out at 5. And so you have your work life, and that is a separate thing from your life. And you compartmentalize those things. One will not affect the other. You know, you don't come to work and start talking about, oh, this thing's happened, or I need to leave. No. This is work, that is life, and never two of them meet.
Agreed.
Right. So that was kind of like, and even for me, many years after that time period, when I started working, it was still kind of the same, right? Like, this is work, and that's life. And these things are separate. And we're talking like early aughts. It was like not that long ago, but we still had this like mentality of leave that shit at the door. This is work now.
Yes.
You know, so I think typically that's how we've looked at work-life balance of it's not even, it's juggling. It's like you've got this constant, it's veering one way or it's veering that. I've got to try and keep these things 50-50. They are parts, but they're equal. Well, that's pressure, right? Like I've got to be my best person at work and be all about work and not allow anything from life to affect me in that space. But then I've got to be my best person in life and be all in and focus there, but not let anything that happened at work affect that. Like Of course it was going to come apart at some point. And I think it caused people to put a huge amount of pressure on themselves. It's not, even vaguely realistic. Life is far too unpredictable and demanding for us to be able to completely compartmentalize everything. And why would we want to apply even more pressure to ourselves than we already have? I mean, what do you think about it?
See, I agree with you completely, Dulcie.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's the fact that we're not really allowed to be our whole selves at work, or we don't feel like we can be our whole selves at work because either, it's a toxic work environment, or there's no psychological safety, or there's a whole host of reasons why people don't feel comfortable to be their whole selves at work. What you then have we are caricatures of ourselves.
Right.
And in some kind of misguided effort to either one, fit in, or fit into a persona that we believe will get us ahead at work, or would get us any, whatever benefit we think we can get from it. That's what I see happening. As this whole misguided thing about balancing work and life, it's not even balanced by time, right? We work more than we do anything else.
True.
So there's no balance there because, let's say you work 8 hours a day. You're only awake for 12?
Yeah.
12, maybe 16. And this is somebody who works 9 to 5. Let's talk about those who have 12-hour shifts or 16-hour shifts. What do you want to say about them? So there's no balance.
No, there isn't. It's just not possible. And it's why do we continuously apply impossible rules to ourselves so that when we fail to meet them, we can put blame on ourselves and shame and all that rubbish. So
yep.
You felt that.
Hit a nerve there.
So I think realistically, and again, I'm thinking the last 20 years or so of work, things have really changed. And I hate to talk about the pandemic in too light or positive terms, because obviously it was a really terrible time. It's not even over, no matter how much we pretend it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But really, going through the sort of 2020, the shift across 2020, 2021, it's kind of just thinking only about work and how we now work. It has caused a seismic shift in the way in which we work. And for me, actually, it's been quite good. Ultimately, it's blurred. The boundaries have blurred, but I think they blurred in the right way. We got used to seeing each other at home. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she had gone home to her parents, and she was on a call. We were on a call, I don't know, talking about some proposal or something or the other, work, blah, blah, work. And in comes one of her parents. I think it was her dad, who had a donut on a saucer for her. He's like, that thing that you eat something.
Yes.
And just so bloody cute. And it was just so, I don't know, it just, I felt like it connected us all as humans. And it felt like we were forced to be our real selves. Things were happening, life was happening, and we were suddenly in each other's lives. Not in a kind of,
intrusive way.
Yeah, it just felt natural, and it felt like we all appreciated, oh yeah, we've got stuff to do. And then when the vaccines came out, it was like, hey, I'm going to be out, I've got to go and get this damn vaccine. It was just, I've got to go to the doctors, I need to leave early because I need to go to here and there. And it became so much more normalized. And coming out of the thick of that and then going back into sort of a hybrid pattern, so much of that wasn't lost, which I really liked, of
yes,
we are real people. And you can say, hey, I really need to stop here because I've got another thing, or I'm going to be there later. Let's trust that we get our jobs done. And that we also need to get our lives,
Yes.
And I felt like it, and again, it's not uniform because not everyone can be trusted to get their shit done. Let's just stay in the world where people can. But, it felt very much like we suddenly saw each other for real.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what work-life integration is all about. So in terms of a definition, it's about blending your personal and professional priorities to try and create harmony. And yes, and even for me, I'm a part-time carer, I would say. So able to do that and not feel the guilt when also I've got a team of 20 people looking to me to,
Yeah.
but hey, I don't even mind sharing that this is the stuff I've got going on. And like, just suddenly
Yes.
I felt there's a level of vulnerability in that, but then there's safety in it when we're all on the same page, of course. But it felt like, oh, you know who I am now. Like, you don't really know all my business because I'm not that type of guy. But
no, but I see what you mean.
I see you.
I see exactly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something really profound. You said, being at home during COVID and having to be exposed to each other's lives in a way that we hadn't previously been reminded us that we are human. And that's just the long and short of it, isn't it? Because we are human. Like we look at businesses like this faceless entities that, capitalism bad, whatever. But really, businesses are just made up of individuals. I think we need just a return to just basic human decency and kindness and seeing each other as human.
100%.
And if you don't present yourself as a human at work, or if you're not given the opportunity to present yourself as human at work, then it's very easy for people to other you, or for us to be othering each other.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing for leadership to think about, because not every workplace, like a lot of workplaces don't actually provide because there's a prerequisite here, right? There's a prerequisite to work-life integration, and that is a workplace that provides that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a workplace that doesn't, I know we're going to be talking about what we can do, right? In terms of what we have control of.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had just across the board with senior leadership of places. I'm very fortunate in that I work in a place where there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of, in fact, that's one of the first places I've worked where I've been actively encouraged to be my whole self at work.
Yeah.
And so I've been working for as long as I've known you, 20 years. So that lets you know already that this is something that is definitely very much, if you're in a place like that, please appreciate it. And if not, there are ways that you can get around it for yourself by setting boundaries. But I'm getting ahead of the program, so I'm going to stop there.
Absolutely. But you're so right around just finding ways to not other each other or make assumptions. Look, we're both Black women. We know very well what it's like when people just make an assumption. I don't know where I was working and someone said to me, "Oh, I bet you can sing really well."
What?
Can you imagine? Because I'm fat and Black. And then, you know what really pissed me off?
Yeah.
Why is it that I used to run a choir? Kind of.
Oh yeah, you did.
Go talk about you did. You were in it.
I was your treasurer.
Do you know how annoying that's
true. Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I bet you could sing really well." And I was like, couldn't really say no. Yes. I can't sing that well, but I was like,
yes.
Sometimes these stereotypes are
stereotypical comment happen to be right this time.
I said, right this time. Don't do that shit again. But no, joking aside, there are so many things that people will make assumptions about each other, and stereotypes, and nobody, not a single person is, exempt from that. We all make judgments based on what we're taught or our past experiences or what we're hearing in the world. And actually being able to set those things aside, set those assumptions and even sometimes those prejudices aside and just see that person for who they are and understand that. And you're so right in that the environment has to allow for that. Some environments actively encourage that fake shit. They really do. They want you to perform. They want you to be this model citizen. And if you aren't that person, not even necessarily model, they want you to fit an archetype. And if you aren't that thing, woe betide you.
Yes, success is only viewed in one way.
In one dimension,
And you know what? And that is so counter. It's just so it runs counter to how the world actually works. There is no one path to success. So many people have, especially in the modern times where, you know, before, like the route to success was literally doctor, lawyer, architect, engineer, whatever.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing people literally on their bums all day playing video games and making millions upon millions. And
that was my small jealousy laugh.
See, look. There's no one path to success. Doesn't look like the way success looks now is very different from the way success looked 50 years ago.
In every strata of life, what success at work looks like, or success to make your income, looks very different from what it did 50 years ago. What success in terms of, you know, the whole 2.4 kids, a house, a car, No. Tracy Ellis Ross has let us know there are so many different ways to be successful. The Queen herself has given us a new way.
Miss Ellis Ross.
She has. But, you know, there is so, like, you're absolutely right. Like, with sort of the world becoming smaller because of the internet, we've been so much more exposed to options, different ways to live life, different ways to be success. And I think the only thing that matters is what is success to you.
To you.
That's it. And workplaces, they need to start having a better understanding that people feel differently about what good looks like. And they can still do a good job for you, but they've got more going on than just working for you. They're not going to be in your company for 20, 30, 40 years. That's not happening anymore. So for the time that they've got you, how can you get the best out of them? How can you pour the best into them?
Oh, Dulcie.
Wow.
Dulcie, you have just mentioned something that is so needed, because as a company, you should not assume you're going to have people for a long time. No. Just go in with the assumption that you've got 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
How can we get the best out of you in those 2 years? And how can we support you for your future aspirations?
Yeah, without trying to suck you dry. Because I've worked in a place where
it's not about sucking. Exactly. Yeah. How can we have a symbiotic relationship? Think of shark and remora fish, right? It's like, that's the whole symbiotic relationships are the way forward. And it's not about that exploitative era of, like, you know, I know we still live in that world where certain industries are more exploitated than others. But I think a lot of the people who formerly have been victims of those exploitations are opening themselves, or waking up to the fact that actually I have a choice here to some degree. Not always, okay? Let me just make that clear. Not always, but just sometimes we have a lot more choice than we think we do. And that was my experience, where I felt like I didn't have a choice but to be a certain way or do certain things. And then I woke up to the realization that actually I do have a choice. I do have some leeway. Almost like taking back your power.
Depending on where you are in your journey, let's be real, you might not have the power to do a huge amount. But certainly for, like, leaders, be you, be real, show up for people, care for people, like, operate with love.
Give a shit.
Treat people how you want to be treated. Like, it's really as simple as that, you know. And when you start doing it, one thing that's so true is the more you do it, the more other people do it. And then it mushrooms out, and suddenly you've just created a culture. Culture isn't the words on the wall. That stuff is irrelevant. That's just cute for a website, right? John Amaechi had a really cool video, and I must find it and, like, put it up on the socials. But he's like, culture isn't the stuff you say. Culture is what you do when things go wrong, when times get hard. So for any managers listening, you might find yourself in an environment that doesn't support the things we're talking about. But if you have the agency to shield your people as much as you can without sacrificing your own well-being, please. But if you can kind of create your own sort of sub or micro culture of kindness, of compassion, please do. Think about, if it were me, if I was them at that point in my life, what would I do, right? Not what happened to me, but what would I have wanted? And just look. It's really simple.
Yes. Be the manager you would want for yourself.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be the manager you would want for yourself, because, if you can't, even if you can't see how, to navigate certain things or whatever, just ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
What would I like? If this was me, what would I like to hear from my manager? What would I like to see from my manager? And do that.
And especially if this was me then, because sometimes as we get like longer in the tooth, we seem to forget what it was like when you were new in a job, when you were young in your career, when you had all those anxieties, like, don't forget how that used to feel. Now, you've moved on, you have a bit more confidence, you're a bit more self-assured. It's not how you treat you now with all of the confidence and experience that you have. It's how you would have wanted someone to treat you when you were just starting out. Please don't forget that, because little things can make a huge difference to people's entire working lives. It's not nothing, okay? Like you said earlier on, we spend far too much time at work to inflict pain on each other, because it goes well beyond the job. So, yeah, just look after each other. Okay, so coming back to this whole work-life integration thing, and I suppose to get people to start embracing it, if it's not something they're already actively doing, I've got a few exercises, pointers for how to start doing it. So for anyone listening, grab like a pen, a piece of paper, or your notes app or whatever, just, a blank page, and write down what are my 3 top personal priorities and what are my 3 top professional priorities. Once you've got those, have a look and say, are there any ways that I could blend these? Now, it may well be that there aren't. Not great. But maybe there are. So maybe one of my priorities is building my network. I'm thinking about a real example for me. Building my network beyond my team within the business. But a personal priority is my fitness. So actually, maybe I'm going to say, you know what? Let me reach out to this person from so-and-so department. Hey, do you want to go for a walk? I mean, again, it depends what kind of office you're in. In my last place, massive campus, lots of great places. Hey, it'd be great to have a chat. I'd love to know more about what you're doing, share more about what I'm doing. Why don't we grab a coffee and go for a little walk? Again, this is so dependent on where you are, weather, but you see what I mean, right? I want to get to know new people, but I also want to move my body a bit more. Let me bring the two things together. Or, even if I think about, okay, one of my personal priorities is getting active, right? If I've got a call with someone that doesn't require screen sharing or something, I'm going to put my headphones in and do the call while I'm on a walk.
Yeah.
I can do that. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. So it's just looking for those ways, big or small, where you can start blending those priorities. Now, if you want to go quite deep on how to create harmony within your life, there's a guy called Stuart Friedman. He's been doing this stuff for a long time. Again, I hear he started in the 80s, but I don't know anything about that decade. But he has a book, and hold on, let me.
Okay, girl.
Again, you didn't just let it lie. You just had to Anyway, Stuart wrote a book called Leading the Life You Want. And it's a really good resource that's all about bringing all this stuff together, aligning the different spheres of your life. But his website, and I will put the link in the description notes, but it's called my4circles.com, and it's all about these 4 circles of work and money and life. And it's bringing, how do you bring them together? How do you find the overlap? All that sort of stuff. But anyway, listen, it's if you want to go deep into that, it's a really interesting exercise to take yourself through. But even at the very top level, what are my priorities personally? What are my priorities professionally? Are there opportunities for me to bring these things together?
I've got an example actually for my. So I've had the privilege of the last few jobs I've had. I've been able to work remotely. And so hybrid working patterns. So what I would do on my days in the office is one of my priorities was to also just nurture my friendships a bit more. And so what I'll do on my days in the office, I will schedule dinners with my friends. So I'll be out, do my work, put in a folder in the office, and then in the evening I will go use that as an opportunity to hang out with my friend, or friends.
You just gave it away.
It's my 150,000 friends. So it's more than one. Let's just say there's more than one. Dulcie. You'll be happy to know I have more than one.
It's two.
Please, can I finish my example? I can see you're doing revenge for that 80s comment.
Got my lip
I didn't even say anything. I just laughed. So yes, that's my example. Basically, nurturing my wonderful friendship.
And it gets you through the workday, doesn't it?
My God, it does.
Right? And it just reminds you as well. It helps set perspective because you're like, okay, yeah, I've got other things going on. And
yes,
it helps you remember who you are.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
my God, sometimes you forget yourself when you're locked into some nonsense at work. Anywho, okay. So after sort of doing all the stuff around what are my priorities and finding ways to combine them, another thing, excuse me, another thing is to understand your energy. Not everybody has the same peaks and troughs with
Yes, I'm ready for this. Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So one interesting way, you might just know, you might just say, hey, I know I'm a morning person or I'm a night owl. Like I know what I am. So figure out how can I tweak things to suit when I have high energy or low energy, et cetera, et cetera. But if you aren't sure, and I will say for me, I've changed. As I've got older, I have changed. I used to sleep deeply. I slept long. Now I sleep lightly and I sleep short. It's horrible. But it is what it is. And I have to work to my energy level.
I have never slept deeply in my life.
I used to sleep in such a way that they couldn't wake me. When my mum gave birth to me and took me home from the hospital, she was scared. She used to think I was always dead.
Oh my God.
Because she would have to shake me to wake up to eat. Like I wouldn't wake up. I wasn't interested in the waking world. I was like, this is not it. This is the ghetto Nini voice. But like, I was like, no, this is awful. So yeah, I would sleep a cool 16, 18 hours. Like I just wasn't about waking. Like that wasn't for me. I was not woke. Oh, that was such a dead joke. Anyway. So
I laughed so clearly. There was so much.
It was gobble. Anti-woke mob. SJW. So if you aren't totally sure, there is a thing you can do. You can do a chronotype quiz. There are different versions of this online. The one that we've taken, I will put a link for that in the show notes as well. Listen, side note. If you go and look at those show notes and you don't see that link, forgive me because I am a very tired girl. Okay. And just send me a message and I will give you the link. I will do my best. But I realized as I was saying, I was like, you might not even remember to do that. So, dear listener, if I did indeed forget, just reach out on socials or email and I will send you the link. But please, I will try my best to remember. But the link that Yemi and I have both done, I will share with you. And it's just a really simple quiz. You do have to give your name and email, blah, 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 but you don't have to pay for it. Excuse me. And it will tell you your type. So there are 4 animals that they use for the chronotype. And
just to interrupt you, Dulcie, sorry. And when Dulcie says very simple quiz, it's very simple.
Yeah.
I was done in like 4 minutes, I want to say. Like it didn't take me up to 5 minutes to get it done. Brilliant. So it really is a very, very short, very simple, very straightforward thing.
Perfect. Thank you. So there are 4 chronotypes that are shown as animals. So there's the bear, who gets up and goes to bed when the sun rises and sets. There's the lion, who loves an early start and an early night. They're really morning people. There's the wolf, who has trouble waking up in the morning. They only really get going at night. And then there's the dolphin, who struggles to fall asleep and stay asleep and often feels tired. Listener, guess what we are? We are both dolphins.
Dolphins apparently are also very horny. Anyway, that's
Excuse me? I know nothing about that. Okay. So I'm gonna talk. Sorry. Okay. Listen. When it comes to animals and like criminality, I could spend the next 6 to 7 hours talking about all the different animals and all the crimes they commit. Dolphins are very high on the list. Bad animals. Anyway, completely off topic. But I'll talk a little bit about the 4 chronotypes and when they are at their best. So we'll start with the bear. The bear, they are typically extroverted, happy-go-lucky. They've got this continuous flow of like mellow energy.
That's my husband.
There you go. He's a bear. 55% of the population are bears. So yeah, there's a lot of bears. When it comes to productivity, they're better off having meetings in the morning and not going too late into the afternoon. So their good time to focus is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So that's when to like get the tough stuff done. And when you are at your peak, that's when you do the most focus intensive, effort intensive work, right? They've that is not as effortful for when you're in your sort of lower energy arenas.
You do more, you accomplish more with less energy.
Exactly.
When you've got,
And this is really about working smart, not hard. And I found this cute little website, and it was saying, well, who's a celebrity bear? And it's Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's a bear.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
It would be, So yeah, deep work, 10 to 2, lighter tasks, 2 to 4, and try and start unwinding 4 to 10 if you are a bear. And bears will typically be up around 7, 8 and be going to sleep at around 11. Okay.
So my big bear, hi, hubby. He is up at the crack of dawn. That one. I'm hearing like movement 4:30, 5 a.m. And he has gone to the gym. By the time I get out of bed, this man has done half a day's work.
Wow.
That side tells you everything you need to know. But it works for us better with the kids because at least he gets his stuff done out of the way.
Yeah.
Before, and then it's like a well-run machine now. We've got it down. The school mornings, we've got it down. But I hand her over for breakfast.
Yeah.
And then depending on what's going on, I take her to like, whatever. But like, there's a handover that happens at breakfast time.
Fantastic.
I get ready in the morning, hand her over to her dad so I can wake up properly.
I see. You know what? There's a dating app in this, right? Like matching with your complementary chronotypes. This is important. No, I'm just saying we should come up with that. We should do that.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Copyright.
I wonder though, he might actually not be a bear. He might be a lion, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Okay, so the next one is the wolf chronotype. So in terms of their traits, they're a bit more introverted and introspective. They're very creative. They will wake up at about sort of 7:30, go to bed at around midnight, and their focus time, their peaks are actually in the evening. So it's between 5 in the evening and midnight. So a productivity tip for them is to get ahead on work at home while they're feeling most awake. Like, thinking about the sort of more traditional home office times and stuff like that. It might be better for them to just be working kind of later. So thinking about a day for them between 10 and 12, lighter tasks, lighter stuff. Between 12 and 2, maybe more creative tasks and some deep tasks. Between 2 and 5, lighter. Again, that's not the best time for them. And then again, 5 to 9, creative, deeper tasks. So that's a slightly harder chronotype when you think about typical work. But in our modern world where we have, remote working and things like that, you may be able, I'm sure that chronotype has actually found it a lot easier. And the celebrity wolf that I've seen here is Alexis Ohanian, Mr. Serena Williams. So he's the co-founder of Reddit, tech dude, seemingly lovely man. But yeah, he's a wolf. And actually, it's not really surprising, being an entrepreneur and being a tech type person, that would suit his way of thinking and working. Okay, so the next one is the lion. Oh, I forgot to say, the wolf is about 15% of the population, so not too many of them.
Okay, yeah.
The lion is also about 15% of the population. So the lion, wake early, so around like 6, go to bed at around 10, and their time of focus is between 8 a.m. and midday. Excuse me. So in terms of traits, they are natural leaders, early risers, and they're very charismatic.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you're just like...
Sounds like someone I know.
Sounds like Herbie. And when it comes to productivity, what they should really think about is knowing when it's time to stop and take yourself away at the end of the day. Like, it's quitting time, because they can just go and go and go. So for them, 8 to 12, like I said, that's when they need to be on their deep work. Like they've got all that energy and they're raring to go in the first half of the day. Then from 12 to 4, lighter tasks. And then in the evening, unwind, relax, and sleep at around 10. So they're not too dissimilar, from the bear, but they have an earlier. So where the bear was peaks at 10 to 2, the, lion is earlier at 8 to 12.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's definitely more lion-like than bear.
And then we get on to the final one, the most rare chronotype at just 10% of the population is the dolphin. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
They tend to wake up 6:30 to 7:30. Go to bed around 11:30 midnight.
Yes.
Their peak is between 3 and 9 p.m. Their traits, they could be scatterbrained. How dare you?
This is so insulting. Carry on.
Because, truth hurts. They can be scatterbrained. They have bursts of creative energy.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? Do you remember, obviously, not giving everything away, but what we were talking about earlier on today?
Yes.
That peak of 3 to 9, I was like, oh. So it's true. Okay, and then another trait, they're highly, you hear me? Highly intelligent.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
I feel seen.
I feel very seen. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's why I'm scatterbrained. There's so much going on.
Look. See, here's the thing, Dulcie, and this is something I was talking to my husband about the other day. The problem with being able to do a lot of things relatively well is that you can do a lot of things relatively well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because then that prioritization becomes problematic because I can do things and I have all these ideas and all this. Yeah. It now becomes very, very overwhelming very, very quickly because So I get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel seen.
What was that thing Beyonce said? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, I didn't ask God to make me this great. Something like that. So a productivity tip for dolphins is that if needed, take breaks throughout the day to mentally reset and recharge.
Oh, what? Yes, I need to do that more often. Look, I don't do that enough.
Me and an afternoon nap, we go together.
See, look, I used to. See, here's the... Okay, so I'm going to play, not devil's advocate, because we're not devils, we're parents. But hey, it could be the same thing depending on the day. But being a parent is it basically so all these frameworks and stuff, they disappear with parenthood sometimes.
Yeah.
And what I've really noticed is that even though my peak times, as you said, are like 3 to 9, because I'm a parent, those are the specific times that I don't have to do anything. Because once I need to pick the little one up from school, that's it. Like that evening is gone. And I think that explains a lot of the tension I've been feeling sometimes with my productivity, where the ideal time I will have used to be productive is not the time I actually have available to me. And so if I say that to say, if you feel a bit of disconnect, a bit of tension, a bit like you're going uphill a bit, I hope this kind of helps you realize that actually it's not you. It's just the way you're wired. Your lifestyle may not be super conducive to the way you're wired. Absolutely. And there are always ways in which you can, at least knowledge is power, right? Yeah. You know it now. You're aware of it now, and then you can look at it with new eyes and say, okay, where can I claw back some of this stuff? But yeah, I think that awareness is really important. This was really useful for me.
Yeah, that's such a great point of, as much as it would be lovely to work in alignment with our chronotypes, life is life. Everyone's got stuff going on. Sometimes you just can't, but like you said, knowledge is power. So be aware of it. And trying to find opportunities for it, even if it can't be consistent, is better than nothing.
It makes you feel less frustrated. Sorry, Dulcie. It makes you feel less frustrated as well, because the frustration can do more damage than anything else. Because you say, why can't? I used to feel resentful sometimes being a parent, because I was like, I need time. And so just having an understanding and saying, okay, actually, it's not about that. I think it gives context to a lot of the struggles I was having. And I really appreciate the people who put this together. I think it's very nice to have.
So yeah, it's definitely worth doing the quiz. There's also a really good book called oh my God, it's called When by Daniel Pink, and it talks about things like chronotype and working with your body. So again, if you want to go deep into things like timing, then that's a great book to read or listen to, because there's one thing we love, is an audiobook.
And
Daniel Pink, I will say, the guy is pretty brilliant. He's got some really, really lovely stuff. So that name, expect to hear more of Daniel Pink as time goes on. So the next thing is to set boundaries. So in terms of setting boundaries, really here we're talking about having intentional transitions between work and personal time. So if you're working from home, have a dedicated workspace that you go to. If you can, it's not always possible. But try and, carve out a space so that you're not suddenly associating your kitchen table with also work and that irritating person that's pestering you for something in the office. If you have the space, try and have like dedicated areas, and not just space, but time. So once you are done with work, don't take your work phone with you, or switch off your notifications on Slack or Teams. Whatever it might be. Create some boundaries. The advice I got from an old colleague was that at the beginning of the day, she'd go for a walk, and at the end of the day, she'd go for a walk. So even though she wasn't commuting to the office, that was her miniature commute, and that marked the beginning and the end of her working day. So when she went for a walk at home, it was like 10-minute walk in the morning. I'm going to work. She'd come back in and get to the desk. In the afternoon, she'd shut things down, go for another 10-minute walk, and come home, and she's back up. She's home. And I really like that as a physical one. Get your body moving. Movement is a But another one is like it allows your mind to just like decompress. Okay, I've processed the things. I'm good. Like now I'm back. I'm here. I'm at home. I'm in life, and that might feel a bit closer to work-life balance and work-life integration. But I think the key thing here is just having a good boundary. It's not about I'm a different person here and a different person there, and I can never talk about one in the other, but it's actually just having a healthy boundary so that you can be present in whatever you're doing. Then the next one is flexibility, leveraging flexibility. Think about you yourself and remaining flexible. The key thing about this is nothing is set in stone. You might have this concept of, I'm going to like do my walk and talk meetings. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're going to be chained to your desk and you're going to be stuck between Slack and Zoom all damn day. And it is what it is. Don't beat yourself up about it, right? Sometimes it just doesn't go to plan. And that is totally okay. We have the best intentions, but life will slap us around the face and say, girl, sit down. Sit your ass down. Be flexible in yourself as well. And just acknowledge that you're not always going to have that perfect integration. Sometimes one is going to be way bigger than the other, and that's okay.
Yeah, be kind to yourself. Extend grace to yourself. Treat yourself like a precious object.
Oh,
you know?
You are a fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. So just, remember that you are human. And so the whole point of this is about being human.
Yeah.
And as humans, we are not going to get it right all of the time. And in those times that you don't feel like you've done that, you just, dust yourself up and keep it moving. Tomorrow's another day.
Exactly. Perfect. Where it helps, use technology to support you. Put things in your calendar, like have stuff in your calendar. I definitely got into the habit with my work calendar of having, if there was like a hospital appointment that I needed to take someone to or whatever, like it would be there so that I wasn't like doing things and conflicted. And I'm like, oh no, I've got to do this call at the same time as this. No. Now, what I will say is that I'm a private person. So those things are private. It's for me. Like some people do like to do a bit of digging in people's diaries and calendars and whatnot. I will mark that stuff as private now, but it will be there so that I don't have any conflicting meetings or whatever, and no one else is going to put time in. It will come up. I'm not available. And if you are doing that, if, for example, you've got to go to the dentist or whatever, don't forget to add in time for your travel to and fro.
Travel, yes. Okay. Don't just put the appointment time start. No. You have to put time before and time after to get back to your ball and chain, i.e. your laptop.
So those are sort of, a few tips around what are my priorities, how my chronotype, like what are my peaks when it comes to my energy, how can I create some boundaries, healthy boundaries between work and personal time, how can I remain flexible, and how can I use technology to support how I integrate work and life. Slight warnings, I think, when it comes to integration. Just be careful not to blend work and life too much.
It's not work and life blending. It's not a work and life smoothie. It's
right.
Just assimilation.
Right. So just, be careful, maintain healthy boundaries.
Yes.
But be your real authentic self. And don't forget, it looks different for everybody. Your personality, your job, your company, your life stage, circumstances, all these things will mean what work-life integration looks for one person is not what it looks like for the next. So when you're trying to sort of move in this direction, experiment, and find out what works best for you. And
speaking of experimenting, Dulcie, one thing I've been experimenting with is my emotional energy. So not just like my physical energy or mental energy, my emotional energy. Work takes up a lot of my mental energy anyway, right? It takes up a lot of my time anyway, in the majority of my waking time.
Yeah.
So what I've started to do is, my emotional energy, I need to preserve that for my family, my loved ones, the people who actually need and cherish that the most. And it's almost like I had to do a prioritization exercise. So things that will happen at work that used to really tick me off, or I will spend a lot of my emotional energy on, I no longer do, not because I don't care, but because I've realized that actually my emotions are best spent elsewhere.
Yeah.
Especially in a positive setting. So what I've started doing really is looking at, how much emotional capacity do I have today? I need to make sure that I have enough left over in the tank for my family and for my loved ones, and not allow work to to drain me of all emotional energy. Because what tends to happen is that we allow work to take the best of us, and then it's the rest of us that the family gets.
Oh my God.
I find the rest of us is not worth, anything. So that's something that I've really tried to be more intentional about this time around. Is work gets my intellect, it gets my, my expertise, my time, but the bulk of my emotions is reserved for my family and friends. Those are the people that need it the most. So just putting the right energy in the right places. That's how I see it.
That is, well said. That is such an incredible point. And when you said that, work gets the best of you and family gets the rest of you, it made me think of this clip. I'm sure you've seen it. It's between the poet Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin, the author. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's where she's talking to him and saying, you go to work and you're this guy, but when you come home to me, I don't get that.
Yeah.
And
a lot of couples have that.
And it's that whole thing of like, you put on that thing for them, put it on for me. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think what I'll try and do is post it. It's such a powerful video. And actually, Nikki just passed away. So rest in peace, Nikki Giovanni. Okay. So just one last thing then before we wrap things up. It's about just don't put too much pressure on yourself, okay?
Especially if you're a dolphin.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And this is true for this topic. It's going to be true for everything we talk about. Mm-hmm. It's not about doing it all. It's about doing what matters most to you.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about perfectionism soon, but really don't fall into that trap. Even if you was thinking, okay, work-life integration, I'm going to be the best at that. No, girl, you're not. Okay. It's not a thing that you can be the best at. Okay. Cool. And I say this, I'm talking to you hard because I have been this person for the longest time. That new concept, I'm going to nail it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Completely goes over your head, right? No, it's not.
A overachiever, straight A step. No. There's no teacher's pet for this. There's no prizes for best integrated life.
Exactly. So I'm saying it to you because I know I would have need to hear it. Real talk.
Yes, I still need to hear it sometime.
And perfectionism is soon come perfectionism. We're going to get there. But sorry, someone just aggressively rang the bell. And I hate when people double ring the bell. If you're not the police, why are you ringing my bell like that? Pass it on. But it's just so annoying. Like, please don't do that. You're not the feds. Stop that. So annoying. Coming in here like I'm P. Diddy. Get out of here. Okay, so that is us for our first podcast episode. We've done it. And that was, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed talking about integration, work-life integration. And so just for everyone listening, the key takeaway is that, balance isn't ideal. Integration is. That's where the magic really happens. About blending work and life in a way that works for you, not for anyone else.
Yep, totally agree. And this week, maybe try identifying your top priorities and seeing how you can align them to create more harmony. Remember that small shifts can make a huge difference.
They really, really can. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today on the Workwell Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the show so that you never miss another one. And while you're there, if you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star rating or review. It would really mean the world to us and it would help more people discover the show.
Yes, you can. Also connect with us on social media. We are at This Is Workwell on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. That is This Is Workwell on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And we'd love to hear how you're finding your own work-life integration. Talk to us. We want to hear from you.
Exactly. So something to think about for next time. Are you striving for perfection? Or is perfection holding you back? Spoiler alert, it's holding you back. So in the next episode, that is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the problem with perfectionism. And we're going to really talk about how progress is your real superpower. So until then, take care and keep working well. Bye.
Thank you.